Good evening. We will call to order the meeting of the Edina Planning Commission for Thursday, September 27th, 2012. Jackie, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Forrest? Here. Commissioner Ladder?
Here.
Commissioner Chakowski? Here. Commissioner Carpenter? Here. Commissioner Stone? Here. Commissioner Fisher? Here. Chair Grable?
Here. We have a quorum to conduct business. Next item is approval of the meeting agenda. You have the agenda before you. I would note for the individuals who are in the audience tonight that there are no public hearings scheduled tonight. There is one report, zoning ordinance amendment, and those are the only official items that we have to deal with. There will be an opportunity should someone wish to comment to the commission about anything where there is a process for public comment. So if you're here to talk to us tonight, you will have an opportunity to do that. Any other changes to the agenda? Can I have a motion to accept the agenda, please?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The agenda is approved. The first item is approval of the consent agenda. The first item there, minutes of the meeting of September 12th, 2012. You have a copy of the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are accepted. The next item is community comment. During community comment, we invite residents and those interested to share new issues or concerns that have not been considered in the last 30 days or which aren't scheduled formally for future consideration. So we would ask if anybody wishes to address the commission, if you would come forward to one of the podiums on either side, give us your name and address, and let us know your concerns. The public is not rushing forward, so I assume that no one wishes to speak during community comments, so we'll move on. As noted, there are no public hearings. The next item under reports, a zoning ordinance amendment for produce stands in regional medical districts.
Thank
Chris?
you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission. Rob Grumman, on behalf of Fairview Southdale Hospital, is requesting a zoning ordinance amendment that would allow produce stands in the regional medical districts similar to those that we currently allow in the planned commercial district. As part of the Do Town initiative, Fairview Southdale Hospital would like a very small-scale farmers market at the northeast corner of 65th and Drew. The market would consist of no more than 5 vendors selling fruit, vegetables, herbs, fresh-cut flowers. The market would only be open 1 day per week from 2 to 5 from June through October. This type of use is currently allowed as a permitted accessory use in the PCD 1, 2, and 3 zoning districts. It is listed in the ordinance as produce stands pursuant to a permit issued by the city manager. In practice, the city has had very few requests. There was a stand a few years ago at the Southdale site, and that's a PCD 3 zoning district. The ordinance before the Planning Commission uses the same concept but has placed additional restrictions to limit the use. The goal of the ordinance is to allow this type of use on a very limited basis so as to protect existing businesses in Edina that sells a similar type product within existing retail buildings. Produce stands are not currently defined in the zoning ordinance, therefore a definition was included in your packet, recommended as added to the proposed ordinance amendment. Staff does recommend the Planning Commission approve the ordinance subject to any revisions that you deem necessary. And I believe Mr. Grumman is here on behalf of Fairview Southdale.
Questions of staff? Commissioner Staunton?
Chris, I noticed that the draft language talks about produce stands
pursuant to a permit issued by the city manager, what are we anticipating the city manager would be, what kind of evaluation would the city manager be conducting before deciding whether to issue a permit?
Sure. We actually do have a permitting process in place. It's been in place since 2003, and it would basically be the same thing that's required currently for the planned commercial district. It does include some conditions that you'd have to have the consent of the property owner, adequate parking to support the stand, and the principal use need to be provided. The location of the stand will not cause traffic problems on-site or on public right-of-way. The stands shall not be larger than 180 square feet. All signage must be affixed to the stand. Permits valid from June 1st to October 1st on any given year. And then permits will be issued only for properties currently in the PCD 1, 2, and 3 districts. So those are current requirements that we would have for the permitting process that's already in place. We would just extend that to the regional medical district requirements.
And are those in the ordinance somewhere? Or is that just a policy?
It's in subsection 850-16 subdivision, I think, it used to be 6, now it's 7 and 850. So it would be the same requirements for the RMD district.
So basically, there's a set of standards that gets applied, and what we would do is just have it be administratively approved instead of coming in front of any commission or board.
By the city manager, by permit of the city manager.
Right, and is there any, I assume other provisions elsewhere also that rely on this, do they refer to those sections in terms of the criteria that the city manager would apply?
Yes.
So the only suggestion I would make is maybe we add that reference about the criteria that.
That's followed by the permitting
Right,
process?
Right, so that there's instruction to the city manager as well as the applicant that those are going to be the criteria they're going to have to satisfy.
Commissioner Fisher?
Chris, I'm just curious, I'm thinking about like this property owner and the functions they have on this property. They may have outside vendors serving in a cafeteria or cafe, gift shop, flowers maybe being sold within the hospital. How does this differ really? Given the fact that this is really a use for employees and guests on this property that just functions every day. It's on a patch of grass on the property. It's not really contemplating a big public, drive-up component. How do you, when you look at this, I guess I'm questioning why we're even needing to deal with it.
Because it's outside. It's not
So
inside
that's
the building.
the difference.
Yes. The ordinance does not allow outside sales that are not permitted through this, through the current ordinance in the planned commercial district, because we had problems in the past with trucks selling shrimp and those types of things on a temporary basis, just parking and selling items. So this is a way to control that, and this is just specifically for produce farmers market stands.
Okay.
And it's outside, and that's the way to control that.
All right, thanks.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Chris, are there specific hours of use? They're not, I don't think, in this draft, or am I missing something?
There are not specific hours. They did indicate what they would be, how they would be operating, but there's no specified hours in the ordinance.
I wonder if there should be minimum, maximum hours, just
I suppose you could do that, yes.
something that would generally comport with what they're planning on doing anyway, but I think there ought to be a cap on both ends, I would think.
Could that,
midnight.
Yeah, you don't want, you don't want to be selling flowers at midnight, by golly.
does the city manager's, does the manager's consideration of these requests take into account hours of operation?
It does request the hours of operation, so it will indicate that on the permit.
Okay. There used to be a stand at the park. I assume since that's city property, it's somehow zoned parkland or something like that, and the manager just approved that. Is that?
It's looked at differently. We also have a farmer's market at Centennial Lakes. There are also conditional uses in the R1 district that sell Christmas trees on a seasonal basis, and those have a separate permitting process for conditional uses in the R1 district, so that's a little bit different too. But we do have some of these types of activities, and they do require a permitting process as an accessory use.
Thank you. Other questions of staff? Thank you. Does any member of the public wish to address the commission on this issue?
Yes, good evening. My name is Rob Grumman. I live at 4205 Duke Drive in Minnetonka, Minnesota. I work at Fairview Southdale Hospital. I'm one of the administrators there. And I was asked to come on behalf of the farmers market team to come and present tonight. We're very excited about the prospects of doing this. We're actually doing a farmers market type of arrangement on 3 of our other campuses at Riverside, University, and at our Stinson office. And it's a great employee amenity for those campuses. On the 2 hospital campuses, it's also something very nice for some of the patients and guests who have a little free time on their hands. We're excited about the prospect of doing this to maybe address some of the questions that have been raised here. Our intent is currently to have it on Tuesday afternoon. Our current thought is that we'll go from 2 till 5 every afternoon. I'd like to have permission to go a full 4 hours, but not any longer than that. I'm happy to restrict it to 4 hours and 1 day a week. It will be on a grassed area. We're going to allow our vendors to come and use the parking lot in the power plant right adjacent to this area, so they will not be, there'll be no offloading and unloading on the streets there. It'll all be from the parking area right outside our power plant right there. We're intending to sell only fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, cut flowers, and limit to that. We're not going to get into crafts and all those kind of things. But that's our intent, and it's not only a great opportunity for us to participate in the Dewtown initiative, but we have a number of healthy eating initiatives going on campus right now in our food service area, and this is a nice way to complement that. So we very much appreciate the commission hearing this amendment request tonight, and we would ask for your support. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Grumman? Commissioner Carpenter?
Just to follow up on the hours thing, you said maximum 4 hours. What's the time frame that you'd be looking, you know?
Our current plan is to go from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. This sort of bookends a shift change, so we've got people coming and leaving at that time, and it's also a time when we have a little bit lower traffic count on our campus, at the hospital itself, so it just sort of jives at that time. If we went 4 hours, we would either go an hour earlier or an hour later. As you get towards more towards the October end of things, we probably will move it up, but right now our plan is to go 3 hours a day.
Okay. Would you be okay then if we're going to specify 4 hours within that time frame then as the maximum?
Actually, very much so. Kerry and I talked about that earlier, and he talked about those restrictions, and I indicated we were very willing to have those kind of restrictions on it. Okay. We think anything less than about 3 hours is almost not worth sort of setting up, and but going much beyond 4 hours, again, we're sort of pocketing or bookending a shift change, and so we're really not interested in going 6-7 hours a day, and we're not interested in having more than 1 day a week. We picked Tuesday specifically because that's a good day in terms of our overall hospital census, but it also doesn't conflict with the farmers market down in Centennial Lakes.
And you'd be done in any event, then your cap is, you said 5 o'clock? Did I get that right? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Right now, our plan is to go from 2 until 5. That's a 3-hour time period.
Right. If
we could go 4 hours, we might start at 1 o'clock, or we might go until 6, but we would stay within that 4-hour limit.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. And I like that flexibility only because we're not quite sure how this is going to work on our campus. Yeah. We're sort of mimicking what we've done on the other campuses, but we have a little different customer base, a patient base, and that sort of thing. So I'd like to have a little flexibility on it.
Other questions of Mr. Grumman? I have one question. At your other campuses, campi.
That's right. I always say campuses too. So,
do you have much participation from the public in general?
On the university campus, it's mostly employees and students. You get a lot of students coming by in that location, so people who are living off campus and would normally grocery shop. They pick up fresh vegetables and fruits either on their way to and from class. At the Riverside campus, it's mostly employees who are using it. We realize that in our location, because of its location, there's a good likelihood, and we might as well be honest about it, there's a good likelihood people from the Southdale Medical Building might come over, the fertility building right across the street, and Southdale Place. We understand that there may be some folks from there.
The only reason I raised the question is I'm just looking at the photo where this is intended to be set up on the grass there, and if people, might there be an issue with public parking if people wanted to shop at this farmer's market?
We've talked a lot about that, and we think that the majority of people who will come here will be on foot, but we realize there's always the possibility of traffic coming in, or people coming in cars. Because this is right towards the end of the hospital where our emergency department is, we almost always have a security guard from our security team down at that end of the hospital. And our intent is to, if somebody does happen to park there, our intent is to move them along and not allow them to park. We obviously don't want them parking on the little stretch of Drew Avenue coming into the hospital, because that's a road that's used by EMT vehicles coming in, so we don't want to have people there. It's also a little bit why one of the reasons we designated that the power plant parking lot is where the vendors will park, so that they're not going to offload and unload on that street. They'll be in that parking ramp or parking lot that's just right to the right of the space in this picture. We also recognize that there is a possibility people might stop on Drew, and again, we're counting on our security guards to sort of be watching. And again, it's a pretty short segment of time, so we'd have somebody sort of watching to make sure that doesn't happen.
So to paraphrase, you've thought about the parking, you intend to have your security staff monitor the situation and make sure there's no particular problem with outside traffic trying to...
Right, and we also have people from our power plant that are right adjacent. There's a series of windows right along that edge there, and we've asked them to sort of keep an eye on it as well. I don't know that I can absolutely, totally guarantee that a car won't stop, but our intent is to make sure we address that quickly and not have people do that.
Okay. Other questions for Mr. Grumman? Thank you, sir.
Great, thank you very much.
Comments from the public? Everybody's in favor of vegetable stands, I guess. Okay. Comments from the commission? Commissioner Staunton?
Just another question for Chris. On this permit, is there a permit issued once and then nothing happens again until there's some need for a change, or does the permit get issued seasonally? Is it before every season, or can you give me a little understanding of that?
I believe it's issued, and then if there are any changes, they would have to address it with the permit. But if it's going to be an ongoing seasonal thing.
And so if it were issued, so Mr. Grumman, for instance, may apply for the permit and say, we're going to conduct this on Tuesdays from 2 to 5 p.m. Is the permit then issued saying you get to do it on Tuesdays from 2 to 5 p.m., and if you want to change that, they come back in and we'll change it?
They would have to do that. The hours of operation are listed on the permit. The dates of the temporary sale are listed on the permit. All
Okay.
of those things are listed on the permit.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments by the commission?
Mr. Chair,
What's your pleasure?
I would move that we recommend this change to the City Council with the minor amendment that there be a reference to the portion of the code where the criteria that the city manager applies is located.
And there was also a possibility of adding a 4-hour restriction on that?
I actually think that's, I'd rather have the city manager evaluate that based on the criteria that are in the code.
Okay.
And to me, that's a case-by-case deal, and you're gonna, how many hours is gonna depend on the circumstances and what kind of disruption, what kind of ripple effect, et cetera. I'm reluctant to put that in the zoning code. We may want to make it longer later, or we may want to make it shorter.
Okay, so a motion's been made and seconded to approve to recommend to the council that the ordinance be adopted with the added proviso that it's subject to the provisions of the manager's recommendation process. Is there any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Grumman. Correspondence and petitions, you've received your council connection. You've received your attendance report. I note again that Commissioners Forrest and Platter are maintaining their 100% attendance record. It's interesting to see who's going to fall off of that first and who will finish the year with the highest record. So, you also received, I think, do we have council minutes? Yes. Chair and commission member comments, I have nothing. Do any commissioners wish to? I do have something to say for the benefit of the public. We had a meeting prior to this meeting, a joint meeting with members, or an informal meeting with members of the Transportation Commission. We've realized that there are many things that the Transportation Commission is doing that impact what the Planning Commission is doing and vice versa. And in an effort to increase communication among the commissions, we got together. I thought it was very helpful and informative. It helps inform us on some of the decisions we will be making in the future, and we hope that the members of the Transportation Commission felt as well. And I think one would hope that these types of joint meetings or get-togethers will occur on a more regular basis, because it is important for us to know among the various commissions and boards what we're doing on behalf of the city. So that's my comment. Other comments by members of the commission? Seeing none. Staff comments? No staff comments? Well, we've come to that point on the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.